and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and I'm here today to do the full moon in Scorpio lunar eclipse that's taking place. It's a penumbral lunar eclipse, which means that the moon itself is not going to be seen as being totally eclipsed because it's not going to move into the dark spot of the earth, so it's going to be on the outer edge of the earth's shadow, which is known as the penumbral, rather than the umbral, which is the center part of the earth's shadow and the darker part. So this full moon eclipse may be harder to spot for that exact reason, and that's the kind of the science side of things. Before I go any further, I am also going to show you the cards that relate to this particular energy that we're going to be dealing with. So conclusions are within reach because it is a full moon eclipse, and full moons are always about a finality of something. A time of letting go, a time of releasing energies, and we also have it being a fixed moon, so it's all about holding your vision, staying true to yourself and what you know to be right. It's in Scorpio, and here it says release your negativity, or it's trying to release negativity. It's time to release the shadow energy, the darker side of our emotions, because we are dealing with the emotions, we're dealing with the moon, and we're also dealing with Scorpio, so that is a very emotional energy. And of course, being a full moon itself, we're also being told here to surrender to the divine energy. Now, before I started the reading, I was shuffling the cards that I was going to be using. I doused the cards to find out which cards were wanted for this particular reading, and this card fell out of the deck, and one of the reasons that I decided to keep this card is because when I went to open the book to have a look, because I've not seen this energy on this card before, the book went straight to this particular card. So I kind of felt that that was a message for the collective energy at this time, and it's called, or she is called, Akhilanda, and she's called the goddess of never not broken, which I think is very interesting and very apt for this particular full moon lunar eclipse, because Scorpio is an energy of, it can be an energy of self-deprecation, self-mutilation. It's that kind of negative side of our self-worth. We're dealing with an eclipse that is on the axis of Taurus and Scorpio. So the sun is in Taurus, the moon is in Scorpio. But I'm going to read you what it says here for Akhilanda, the goddess of never not broken. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. So Akhilanda represents the essence of the phoenix. She's the indestructible energy that embraces change. She knows that everything is conspiring to transform her into only more love and light. And a lunar eclipse energy is all about change. It is the more subtle side of the eclipse energy, whereas the solar eclipse is much more masculine and much more direct. The lunar eclipse is more subtle. It's a feminine energy. And of course, because it's the moon, it is the emotional side of things. Akhilanda is an elusive goddess from Hindu mythology. Her full name is Akhilanda Shvari. Ishvari in Sanskrit means female power or goddess, and Akhilanda means never not broken. So she is the goddess of never not broken. She can never be broken because she always is. She is the embodiment of what we try to avoid, the dissolution of our ego's identity. Her power is unparalleled. She radiates the potent light and joy that's the goal of change, transformation, or pain. And that is very scorpionic kind of energies. Transformation often comes through experiencing pain, which is a very Scorpio. If you think of Scorpio itself, it has a sting in its tail and it causes pain. There is very little written about her. She is meant to be known through experience. She is an intimate, interior goddess that we meet when we are in the darkest moments of grief and heartbreak. Again, very Scorpionic energies. She shows us where our energy is trapped, where we have been stifled in routines or others' expectations of us. And she whispers the liberation we will experience once we let ourselves break open and allow the new expression of ourself to come blazing through. She reminds us that we always have the power to choose to see every event as yet another opportunity to become more light, to become more of the radiant soul we are here to be. Let me just read the rest of this. So when our soul selects her card, which I feel it is a very collective card at this time, many of us exert tremendous energy in the effort to not break or fall apart. We resist our grief, our heartbreak, or we deny the need to change until the choice no longer feels like it's ours. Something sidesweeps us in our ordinary life and shatters who we think we are and how we identify ourselves. Hear what Akhilanda reminds us. Vulnerability is our greatest strength. If we are always broken, we can never break. Akhilanda is the most intimate and personally powerful goddess because she meets us in those moments when we can feel most alone, most exposed and most afraid. She models how to thrive in the midst of change. She uses pain to joyfully and purposefully transform. She sees everything as an opportunity to release what isn't serving her. Sorry, a tickle in my throat. And she knows that being broken isn't a failure or something we should avoid. It's actually the whole point. We are here to let our ideas of ourselves go up in flames so that beneath the ashes, the soft core of who we truly are arises, and so that we remember that it's not the heart that ever breaks, it's the ego. The heart only ever expands. So the soul voice meditation, for those who may be interested, are what heartbreak can I see now as an opportunity to expand? An intention, everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. And it is very transformational energy that we are dealing with at this time, because Scorpio, Pluto, 8th house energy is all about transformation. So I'm going to put, I don't know if you can see that over here. Put that card over there. I might just turn that a little bit around so that we can see it in the, there we go, in the distance, but she's still there. Okay, so we also have cards behind us as well. We have separated into two separate sides. So we have on this side Scorpio, which is all about transformation. I transform. Then we have transformation itself, Pluto, the energy of transformation, evolution, growth, birth, death, rebirth. Phoenix energy, in fact, which is what we've just had with the Akhilanda card over there. And the 8th house energy is about endings and beginnings. So this lunar eclipse is also very much about endings and beginnings. And it is ruled or governed by water, which is all about the feeling, the senses, the emotions, which is why this is going to be a very deeply felt lunar eclipse. And on the other side we have the sun, which is in Taurus at this time. So this is the axis between the full moon and the full moon and the sun. Taurus Scorpio axis, which I will talk a bit more about in a bit. And then we have the lunar eclipse energy itself, which is change. The moon, which is our soul, our feelings, our emotions, again also ruled by the water element. And lastly here we have the south node, which is all about karmic debts, life's debts. And the south node is there because it's the south node that is causing an eclipse, or this particular eclipse, because the south node is at the very beginning stages of Scorpio. The nodes, both the south node and the north node, always move together, but they always move in reverse around the zodiac wheel. So they're always going from the end of a sign to the beginning of a sign, and then they'll move into the next sign, which these two are due to do fairly soon, in fact, as they've reached about 3 degrees and 35, 3 degrees and 35 minutes at the moment. So the south node is the energy that we are dealing with during this lunar eclipse, and the south node is about letting go of the energy of the past, where we've come from, what we no longer need in our lives. And at this time we're dealing again with this Scorpio energy, 8th house energy. It's energy of transformation, it's energy of sex. In particular, it's a very sexual energy. It's also to do with power. It can be to do with blackmail, emotional blackmail. It can be to do with corruption, all those kind of seedier, darker, underbelly kind of energies, the underworld. Pluto rules the underworld, so it's all that stuff that goes on in the dark, the hidden, the back room deals, that kind of thing, that are all being made are around this Pluto energy as well. So at this time, this is kind of saying that it's time to let all this go, to transform all this energy, to move away from this kind of way of corrupt living our lives, how our lives have been kind of controlled by these people who have taken over these positions of power in order to be able to hold these places in a corrupt way, to keep the rest of us in their, what's the word I'm looking for, in their kind of like, well, in their enthrall, in their power, I suppose. And the way that they have done it is through these kind of corrupt dealings with other people in powers. It kind of also, for me, the Scorpio energy and the Taurus energy as well is very much about the big families on the planet who have kind of amassed, shall we say, a lot of the wealth of the planet, and how they don't share this wealth amongst everybody, how they've kind of laid claim to it, because it is also, that Taurus energy is also about finances and money, possessions, what we believe we have, what we own, which can also be people as well. Whereas the Scorpio, so this is the Taurus Scorpio axis that we're dealing with during this eclipse as well. And the Scorpio side of things is more to do with other people's money, whereas Taurus is the more personal side of things. Scorpio is other people's money, so it's things like taxes, alimony, debt, that kind of thing, that that Scorpio governs. So it's others, the other person's money. Inheritance comes under that as well, and insurance, legacies is also another thing So anything to do with other people's money or things that we may inherit from somebody else as well. So at this particular time we have got some interesting energies happening right now. We have, my laptop's decided it's just about it's time to mess about. So what we have going on here at this time is a fixed cross as well, which is interesting because this fixed square cross is the sun and the moon, but it also includes Black Moon Lilith in Leo, and it also includes Clavico in Aquarius. So we've got a kind of interesting mix here because the moon in Scorpio is in a feminine sign, so she's happy there. The moon quite likes Scorpio. It feels comfortable in Scorpio. But the sun is in Taurus, which is also a feminine sign as well. And then we've got Black Moon Lilith in the masculine sign of Leo, which is ruled by the sun. And then we've got Clavico, which is another masculine energy and is ruled by Aquarius. So there is this balance of this masculine and feminine energy at play here as well. Clavico being a part of this energy is very good because the Black Moon Lilith energy is like the masculine, the feminine version of Pluto. They both deal with the seedier kind of taboo sides of life, the darker, seedier things that people don't want to acknowledge, the things that go on that we're not wanting to kind of deal with or accept as part of the bigger picture of life as well. But because Black Moon Lilith is in Leo at this time, and Leo is all about the spotlight, about being on the stage, about things being seen, this energy is also going to come out at this time as well. So there is kind of like this, I feel that this time is going to be a time of shocking, awakening awareness as well, because Uranus in Taurus is also conjunct this energy at this time. It's conjunct the sun, it's opposing the moon, so it's playing its own part in this, and this Uranus and the sun are coming together as well, so there's going to be a lot of eruptive, shocking, awakening energy going on here as well. And Black Moon Lilith in Leo is also sextile to Uranus as well, or coming up for sextile to Uranus. So lots of things are going to come out that are going to be unexpected for the masses of the planet, the people who haven't researched, haven't gone down those rabbit holes and haven't discovered things for themselves. And there is still a lot of people out there like that are going to really have their worlds rocked, I would say, over these coming 6 months, because this energy of the eclipse will last for 6 months. The eclipse itself is going to last for about 4 hours and 18 minutes, and it's mostly viewable over like Australia. Let me just have a quick look at this. Australia, Antarctica, I believe, Asia, Russia, Eastern and Central Africa, parts of Europe as well. In fact, it's going to be viewable over most of Europe, but it's not viewable for the UK. The actual full moon itself is taking place at 18 hours and 35 minutes here in the UK. It's at 15 degrees or 14 degrees 58 minutes, so 15 degrees really, so that's kind of halfway through the sign here. And there's something I was going to say about that, but that's kind of slipped my my thought processes, as these things do. So this fixed square energy, which is like a fixed cross energy really, because Clarico is also, coming back to this energy, Clarico is at, where are we? She's about 13 degrees, yeah, 12 degrees 35 of Aquarius. So she's very, very close to the 15 degrees. So she's playing quite a major part in this energy. And Clarico is about, she's the midwife. She holds the sacred space for us to heal and to bring things into that sacred energy. She allows us to, yeah, she allows us, or she allows the healing to take place that needs to take place, which is really interesting because at this time we also have Chiron, who is Clarico's husband, and they worked very closely as a team because Chiron is the wounded healer energy here. He is quincunx the moon at this time. So quincunxes, as I've said before, they're like an uncomfortable energy. They're an energy that doesn't gel. It doesn't feel right. There's something uncomfortable about that energy because Chiron at this time is in Aries, so he's in a fire sign, and the moon is in water, and water and fire just do not go together. There's just this energy where they just don't understand each other at all. So we're going to be feeling this lunar eclipse in this kind of feeling of uncomfortableness. There's things that are going to come up for us over this period of time, for the next 6 weeks, possibly like even beyond that, because an eclipse lasts for 6 months. So on the world stage it will be lasting for like 6 months. On a personal level, it could be like things over the next 6 weeks are going to be particularly powerfully felt. Things that we thought maybe that we'd laid to rest are going to come back up, because Scorpio, I always see that energy as the emotional graveyard. So it's where we kind of bury things but not necessarily have dealt with them. So it's only when we work with that shadow side of those energies, of our emotional traumas and experiences, that we allow ourselves to fully release those experiences and that trauma. And as a human race, there has been so much trauma, and this is one of the things that is going to come out with this Black Moon Lilith energy as well, is how much trauma the human race in general has been through, because we also have Pluto at the very beginning of Aquarius, and Pluto is the humanitarian, Aquarius is the humanitarian energy. It is the collective energy. And so Pluto has kind of dipped his toe into this Aquarius energy, but he's now retrograde. He turned retrograde on the, I'm trying to think when it was, I think it was about the 20th. He turned retrograde on the 2nd of May. So he's only just turned retrograde. He's still at the same point he was when he went retrograde. So I don't know where that other, the 20th came from, but 21 degrees of Aquarius. So he's now retrograding very slowly back towards Capricorn, and he's going to be doing this over the next few months until he will eventually stop again in Capricorn. He was stationed in Capricorn at that 27 degree point, which is absolutely a vital point for the US natal chart, because that's the Pluto return. So we've had this already 3 times, but now Pluto is going back into this same area. And the thing about this as well is that in the natal chart of the USA, Capricorn, at 27 degrees point of Capricorn, is their second house. So the second house is the Taurus house. It's finances, it's banking, it's tradition in some ways around the ideas of, well, it's solidity. Taurus likes things to be the same. It likes things to stay the way it's always been. It likes to know how things are, that things aren't going to change suddenly and unexpectedly. But of course, on a world stage at this time, we also have Uranus in the second house, so things are changing rapidly. So the second house of the US chart is also connecting with this energy of the Uranus in Taurus, but also Pluto going back into their second house as well. It's like a double whammy, basically, for the US at this time, which is why we're seeing so much upheaval when it comes to the monetary system. It's why we're seeing the banks collapsing all over the place at this time in America. It's even, I read an article yesterday that said that the 5 banks that have collapsed recently were bigger than the banks in 2008. And of course 2008 was the time when Pluto first moved into Capricorn. So Pluto has been slowly going through Capricorn and really transforming and changing the whole of the basis of the monetary system in the US. And it's not finished. He's not finished. He's going to go back in there and he's going to finish the job that he started in 2008. And of course he's going to stop at that 27 degree point, and then he's going to move back over those last critical degrees again of the Capricorn energy. And Capricorn energy itself is about governance. It is about control. It is about restriction, how to control the people. And one of the best ways of controlling the masses and the people has been through the monetary system. And we can see this throughout the world. It's like keeping some people poor and other people's rich. Countries as well. It's like deciding, oh, this country, like this part of the world, will allow them to be rich, and therefore they can help feed the beast. And this country over here will keep them poor, and we can control them easier because of that. And Africa is one of those countries, in fact, that has suffered greatly, I believe, from that particular style of control. And interestingly, Eastern and Central Africa are also in the path of this eclipse as well. And countries that are in the path of any eclipse are going to, it will show up in that country more than anywhere else at this time. So places like Russia, Eastern and Central Africa, also Asia and Antarctica as well. So can expect to hear a lot more about what's happening in Antarctica. And if you've been watching any of the news at this time, we all know that Russia is very much playing out on the world stage at this moment as well. Asia, of course, also related to the monetary system with the whole BRICS thing that's going on as well. So there is big change and big upheaval all over the world. And some of this, of course, is also due to the Uranus energy. And I want to come back to this Uranus energy because Uranus and the Sun are coming together. And at this time, we are seeing on the planet massive actual kind of physical changes. I recently saw something that was saying that Mexico, parts of Mexico are just on fire. Like these fires are just popping up out of nowhere. They are kind of close to volcanoes. We have 50 volcanoes erupting at this time. Usually on the planet it's between 20 to 25, so we've doubled the amount of volcanoes that are erupting as well. So Sun and Uranus together is going to be a major event. I feel as though something very big is coming in that particular area as well, because Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus is the earth energy. It is the first earth sign, so it relates to the earth, the physical earth itself. And so we are going to see more earthquakes, we're going to see more volcanoes, we're also going to see a lot more solar flares, CMEs, coming from our star as well, as the Uranus and Sun conjunction gets stronger and stronger, and we are again already seeing this picking up. So that's very interesting as well. But I also want to talk about, and this again is all part of the upheaval, that the Black Moon Lilith, the Pluto energy, is all part of what we're going to be experiencing in a sense of awakening as well, because Uranus is the great awakener. He is here to awaken us to the truth of what we have lived through, and what we are living through. What else do we have here? Mercury, of course, is retrograde at this time as well. So Mercury is at 8 degrees and 57 minutes of Taurus. So this Taurus energy is very much being felt at this time, shall we say. Mercury is very fast moving, very quick thinking. Taurus is much more dependable, it's more slow, it's more laid back kind of energy, although if you ever see a ball charge, they can be quite formidable, as we know. So, but Mercury in Taurus is kind of, yeah, laid back. So it might feel at this time as though things are slowing down, as though our brains are kind of slowing down. It's taking longer to actually kind of come to a conclusion about something. It's taking longer to actually find the answer to something. If we're kind of mulling things over a lot more, that's another Taurus thing. If you see cows in a field, they kind of chew over the cud. It's that kind of energy. Mercury makes us kind of slow down, and Taurus makes Mercury slow down and think things through before actually acting on them, which isn't always such a bad thing. But he can also make us over process things, kind of, so that we get kind of stuck in a kind of like, well, maybe I'll put that off and I'll do it another time kind of energy as well. So there is also that side to it too. Mars is still in Cancer at 21 degrees and 36. Mars being the active, energetic, passionate, driving kind of energy, and Cancer being the ruler of, or the moon being the ruler of Cancer. This energy is also going to play out in the Cancer signs as well, because Cancerians are so sensitive to this kind of energy and this kind of change, and with Mars there, it's really activating that feeling side of things for Cancerians, very much so. It's like everything is kind of really highlighted, really extreme and intense feelings for Cancers, I feel, at this time, with Mars there as well. What else have we got going on? Just let me have a look at the actual conjunctions here. Oh, are we? Okay. So Mercury is also sextile to Saturn at this time as well. So that's kind of giving Mercury some stability as well. So there's a lot of stability going on there for Mercury. Saturn also being an Earth energy ruler of Capricorn. So, but again, it could also, although it's a sextile is always a supportive kind of energy, when we're dealing with anything like Saturn and Pluto, we are dealing with the more adverse energies there as well. And with Saturn in Pisces, it's kind of, Saturn in Pisces is really very much about just letting it all go, just surrendering, releasing. So on that level, it could also be helping us to release our old thought patterns, our ways of thinking that have become too solid and too stuck in our ways. Because Taurus can be a very stuck in its ways kind of energy, and Saturn is also about the status quo and keeping things kind of traditional, conditioned, that kind of energy. But in Pisces, and at this moment in Pisces it's at 5 degrees and 43 minutes of Pisces, it's kind of learning to let go, to kind of go with the flow more. Pisces has no boundaries, it has no barriers. Saturn is all about the barriers, all about the boundaries. So Saturn is having to kind of release that boundary quality, if you like. And it's difficult because Saturn, that is what makes Saturn Saturn. But in Pisces, he's having to kind of go within. It's more of a, Pisces is more of an inner energy, inner knowing and inner understanding. I've spoken of this before as well, how it's more about kind of finding that strength within our inner knowing of something and feeling strong in that knowing, that intuitive side of who we are. And Saturn is kind of helping us to understand or inner stand that energy, as some people prefer it to be called, the inner standing rather than the understanding of something. But Saturn is very much at this time helping to hold up that inner knowledge, that inner intuitive. It's like you know something, you don't know why you know it, but you know it, and it's a very powerful knowing. And Saturn is kind of helping us to accept that, that is, it is what it is. It is there. It's not us being mad or crazy, or as we've been labelled, people who have very strong feelings and intuitive knowing have been labelled that kind of like, if it doesn't fit into a certain bracket, labelled as being insane or crazy, or, you know, coming from a place of wacky out there kind of energy. At this time, Saturn is kind of saying, no, this is the strength. It is the strength that is going to help see us through these difficult situations that are coming up over these next 6 months, because these next 6 months are not going to be easy. I've said this before and I will say it again, they are not going to be easy times that are coming up for us. But we do have support from the planets. We do have support from the universe, if we can remember that, tap into that. So And talking of support, we've got Venus sextile Jupiter at this time. Venus is in Gemini. Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is in the sign that is ruled by Mercury. So there's a kind of exchange of energies going on there as well. Venus in Gemini isn't the greatest place for Gemini to be. For Venus to be. Venus doesn't feel overly comfortable in Gemini, because Venus is very sensual. Venus is very like what I can see, what I can feel, what I can touch kind of energy, whereas Gemini is all about the mind. It's all about the logic, the understanding or inner knowledge of something, the knowledge, the words, the communication, the books, the learning. That is all very much Gemini, and it does give a passion for learning. Venus does bring that out in Gemini. It will kind of bring out that passion for knowledge, for seeking knowledge, for wanting to know more. So that's really where Venus will excel in Gemini. But she doesn't feel that comfortable there, and she is about to leave Venus and move into Cancer. So at the moment Venus is about 28 degrees in Gemini, so she will be leaving fairly soon and moving into Cancer, which of course is much more her home energy. It's water, it's because they're sextile energies as well, Cancer and Taurus, there's a support energy, whereas planets or signs that are next to each other, the planets don't tend to feel as comfortable in them. They can deal with them, but they don't necessarily feel as comfortable there. So, but she's also square to Neptune at this time as well. Venus is square to Neptune, so again there's a kind of uncomfortable, difficult energy with Neptune. Neptune being that inner knowing, that understanding of things, the unknown, the nebulous, the kind of like can't quite put your finger on it kind of energy. Like nothing solid. There's nothing solid about Neptune energy. So Venus is pretty much not having the greatest of times at the moment. She's also quincunx to Pluto as well. So again, that uncomfortable energy, and it's with Pluto. So that's really not nice. That's really hard, harsh energy for Venus. And the only real support that she's got here is from Jupiter, which is okay, because Jupiter gives that kind of optimism and that kind of it's all going to be all right kind of feeling about things. But it also expands and magnifies whatever it touches as well. So Venus is also kind of feeling this kind of magnification of everything else at this time. So she's also square Neptune and quincunx Pluto. Pluto, of course, being the ruler of this particular lunar eclipse as well. So Pluto's energy is magnified in itself anyway, because Pluto is standing still in the sky. He hasn't moved for the last 48 hours. So he's only just beginning to kind of get back into that turning kind of energy and moving backwards. So for about 2 days from our perspective on the Earth, whenever a planet stands retrograde or direct, it doesn't move, it stays in that same spot. So its energy is magnified even more. So this is another reason that this energy, this lunar eclipse energy, is going to be so intense and so extreme over these coming months, because we are literally in this very Plutonian transformational And of course, when we talk about plutonium, we're also talking about things like toxics, poisons, nuclear energy. Don't really want to express too much about that, but it is something that Pluto rules over, because Pluto is the great creator and the great destroyer at the same time. He has the ability for birth and death and rebirth and everything in between. I also see Pluto as the soul recycler. He recycles the souls, so it's Pluto who's there to kind of like, because he rules impermanence as well, so, and everything is impermanent, nothing is permanent. It doesn't matter how long something seems to have existed. Things have always changed, and they are always changing, and they will constantly continue to change, and it is the only thing that we can absolutely be certain of with death as well, is change. And death is a part of life. It is change. It is moving from one physical state into a non-physical state. So so this Pluto energy is really, really expansive at this time. And I think we're going to hear a lot more about the Pluto kind of themes, shall we say, at this time as well. Some other interesting energies that are going on at this time is of course, the South Node, sorry, is a part of this lunar eclipse as well, which means that the Sun and the Moon are connecting with it, but the North Node is also square with Pluto, and this has been an ongoing thing for a while now. The North and the South Node are making a T-square with Pluto. So again, this energy is really, really magnified, expanded, extreme. It's in a T-square, so the North Node and the South Node, as I said, always oppose each other. And then we have Pluto dead in the middle of these two energies, right center. So there's a T-square being formed at this time by these energies. So in many ways, it kind of feels like that choice between the old energies and the people who want to stay within that kind of old idea of how the world is and how it's run and how it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Run, controlled, governed. And also the North Node in Taurus is the energy of like trying to find that new path, that new world, that new direction. So we've got both of these energies at the moment, and Pluto, as I said, he is the destroyer and he is the creator, the creative energy, and the destructive energy. Because only with the two, like only through destruction does there come like a breakthrough or a way of changing things as well. So again, it's that kind of trauma energy as well, like breakthroughs, breaking through to the other side. Uranus is also a part of that energy as well, kind of really making people break through their habits or their traditions, their comfort zones. Taurus can be a very much comfort zone. It likes to kind of have a routine in a way and kind of do the same things over and over because it feels comfortable to Taurus. So Uranus is also about forcing us out of that comfort zone. And again, I feel that this is kind of tied in with this South Node, North Node, Pluto T-square of like, do you want to stay in that kind of Pluto energy, that Scorpio energy that may feel as though it's comfortable because it's an energy that you have come to understand, particularly around things like being how can you say, like corruption in particular, because I feel that that's a really big energy that we're dealing with at this time on this planet, is this awakening and awareness to how corrupt those who govern the rest of us and kind of put all the laws and the rules in place actually don't live up to any of those higher standards that we should be expecting from them. So I feel that all of this is going to become very apparent over these coming months as well, as people wake up more and more to this understanding. Black Moon Lilith, as I was saying earlier, Black Moon Lilith at this time is also T-square as well. She is T-square the sun and the moon, so she's also playing a very big part in this lunar eclipse as well. And Black Moon Lilith, as I said, is the female version of Pluto, only on some levels she is how can you put it? I don't want to use the word worse, but that's kind of how she is. She's very very destructive. I think of Black Moon Lilith kind of like Kali energy, that kind of energy of destruction, again of creation as well, because she is the shadow side of the feminine energy. She's the dark mother energy. And the dark mother energy is an energy that is kind of has been ignored, or the feminine side has been ignored for so long. It has been a very masculine ruled world that we are all used to, shall we say. If you look back in history, women didn't for a long time have a particular role except as a mother, and there is nothing wrong with that. I think unfortunately we've gone to the other extreme, and we are going to the other extreme where the woman's role, even as a mother and as a matriarch of a family, is being completely wiped out. In fact, I think women in general, they are trying to wipe out the value of women. And when people talk about equality of the masculine and the feminine, like being equal, I think they on a lot of levels miss the point that to be a feminist is not to be not to become a man. That's not the idea for women. To be a feminist is to accept everything that female energy is, who we are fundamentally as women, as females. What do? We give birth. We create inside ourselves something that during a man's lifetime as a man he cannot achieve. So men have to achieve outwardly, and I have said this before, that it is something that I feel there is a thing called womb envy. And when you've got women being ignored and men dressed as women being given awards for things that women should be getting awards for, crazy things like being the first woman whatever, when in fact they're not actually a woman at all. Personally, I think that's very degrading. to the feminine, or to the female, to women in general. It's degrading, and it's like saying, you know, what is your point of being here? And I've said this for a long time. In fact, I was kind of talking about this way back before any of this was even known or thought about. I kind of saw where it was going. I have this ability to see things in what's known as kind of holographic. So I see where the past has come from and where we are in the present and where we are going if we carry on going down a certain route. And we are definitely going down that route that I saw way back, and I'm talking kind of like early 90s. And I even kind of was expressing this to people, but of course people just thought I was a little bit crazy. Well, a lot crazy actually, to be fair. But this Black Moon Lilith energy is very much about making us aware. It's the angry feminine, the Black Moon. It's the black side, it's the dark side of the moon. It's the side that you never get to see. It's the rage, it's the anger of not being acknowledged or accepted. And Black Moon Lilith, like I said, she is part of this energy at this time as well. So again, we're dealing with the moon, dark side of the moon. And this lunar eclipse, I don't know if I've said this already, but this lunar eclipse is not a full lunar eclipse. In fact, the actual change of the moon is going to be so kind of faint that it's going to be quite difficult for most people to actually even see it if you are able to see the eclipse itself. It is very faint, which I think is quite interesting in itself as well, because it's not moving completely into the earth shadow. So it's almost like it's there but not there, a sense of, that's kind of how I get a sense of it's there but it's not there. And I don't know how that fits in with all of this, but I have a feeling that somehow it does, that it's there but it's not there, kind of awareness of something. So Black Moon Lilith, yeah, is square the sun, it's square the moon, so it's in this T-square. It's also square to Mercury as well. So again, Mercury, communication, media. So it's kind of like seeing the darker side of this energy, the darker side of communication, the darker side of the media, the underbelly, the kind of side that we don't normally see, that isn't usually out there being shown or exposed, but it's all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, all the kind of, like, as I said before, the backroom deals, the corruption, all that kind of thing fits in with this Black Moon Lilith energy. And Black Moon Lilith is also very sexual energy as well, and all the other taboos that we are not supposed to or allowed to talk about. But I will just mention quickly that we are also seeing things coming out now about Jeffrey Epstein, and we all know what he's related to. So, and of course, I just want to say that Black Moon Lilith is in Leo, and Leo, as I said, center stage, spotlight energy. It's also to do with like monarchy and royalty, because it's ruled by Leo, and also to do with like big families, like aristocratic families, families that have been around for a long time. So it's that kind of energy as well, and it's all kind of being exposed at this time. Black Moon Lilith is also square to Uranus as well. So again, this kind of eruptive energy that's going to come out of nowhere. It's going to kind of left field, I feel, kind of like a lot of people on the planet. It's going to shock. It's going to awaken. It's going to make people really... It's going to shake. It's going to shake people down to the very core of their being as well, because Black Moon Lilith and Pluto are very much about that kind of core energy, that center energy. But one thing that is in our favour for this is the fact that she is actually trining to Chiron as well. And Chiron is square to Mars. So this is very active energy that's happening here. The healing, there is a healing element to all of this, which I feel with this Clarico energy here as well, that there is a healing energy behind all of what's going on, and it's healing on a very individual basis as well, because it's in Aries. It's healing the inner child, the wounded inner child, on a deep, deep level. And only by expressing stories or expressing experiences, which is kind of also Mercury as well, the expression of being able to kind of say what has happened to us in the past. And this is as a collective whole energy here as well. And one of the reasons that I feel this quite strongly is because on the world axis at this time, we still have Manwe, and Manwe is the Elder King. He's part of the Tolkien mythology, but he also was a being who came out of the song that was sung to bring the universe into being. And he's also, at this time, we also, at the world axis, we also have Medusa as well. So there's this kind of, it feels like this balance of good versus bad, or evil versus good. It's kind of like Medusa being that, you know, the Gorgon, snake-headed, venomous, poisonous, creation, a beast, and Manwe, they're both like right on the axis. Manwe's at 01 degrees and 33 minutes, so he's still very much on the axis, on the world axis. And then Medusa is at 0138 of that 00 point of Aries as well. So they are both very closely conjunct each other. They are both very closely conjunct the world axis. So behind the scenes there is kind of this, it feels like this battle again, this kind of south node, north node energy in a way. The Medusa energy relating very much to the Scorpionic energy as well, poison, toxins. I also feel like Medusa also very similar to Pholos, who I've spoken about before. Pholos being the centaur who died because of the Medusa poison that killed him, or the Hydra-headed beast, but it's still blood that was dipped in toxic poison. And Pholos relates to the biolabs. Medusa is very much to do with things like biolabs as well. So I feel as though we're going to be hearing a lot more about this kind of bioweapon. I want to use the word industry, really, because that's kind of how it is. It's kind of like genetics. It's like it goes down to a kind of genetic level for the human race to be able to kind of wipe us all out on such a huge scale. And I still think that we're, you know, over these next coming years, we're still going to experience this in a massive, massive way, because we still haven't seen the full results of what happened to us with the bioweapon that they've used already. And there's more talk of biolabs being found in like Sudan, Africa, of course, which is part of this eclipse. So again, more of this energy coming out. We've got Salacia, which for me is that energy of bringing things from the dark up into the light, and she is still opposite Make in Libra, Make being the universal karmic energy. He's retrograde, he's at 8 degrees and 41, so Salacia's at 8 degrees 22, so again very, very closely connected energies here, and they are both T-square with Pholos at 8 degrees 56, almost 9 degrees of Capricorn. But next to Pholos we also have another energy known as Qua, which is another I think it's another center energy, maybe not, but it's a Kuiper belt energy, so it's another energy that's way, way out there. It's past Neptune, so it's known as a trans-Neptunian object as well, and it's way out there, and it's an energy that comes from the Tonga tribe, which is native to Los Angeles originally, and he was the creator god, another creator god who sang the world into being, very similar to the Manwë energy, although Manwë was not the actual creator energy. But in saying that, Make was a creator god, and Make is part of this T-square as well. So creator energy is very strongly placed here at this time as well. So there is like a rebirth, there is something new that is coming into being, but we've got to let go of this old, which is what this lunar eclipse is about. We've got to let go, but first of all, we have to recognize all of this darkness that has historically and karmically been accumulated by the souls on the planet, and is still going through that process as well for a lot of people. We've still got the triple conjunction with Eris, the goddess of which is fiery. She's the sister of Mars. She's non-conformist energy. She does not want to well, she's disharmony, really. She's disharmony. She likes to cause uprisings. She likes to cause things to be discordant energy so that she can feed off of it. She feeds off of this kind of energy. So on a kind of modern day way of looking at her, she is the activist, but activists are not always what they used to be these days. There's a lot of activists that are being used, and they don't know that they're being used, but they are causing that kind of discordant energy, which is helping to kind of divide and conquer kind of energy, which also makes it a lot easier to control people when they're in disarray and discord and aren't in harmony. Manwë and Make and this Kwa creator god are all about harmony. They're about creating from harmony, harmonics, keeping things in harmony, in balance. Make is in the sign of balance, Libra, the sign of the scales, the balance, the fairness, justice, And we are seeing a lot of this playing out as well. We're seeing a lot of injustice, but sometimes the scales tip in the opposite way before they can tip back again to be kind of leveled out. So there's a lot of this happening at this time as well. And again, this is to do with karmic, because Manwë in many ways is that universal karmic law above and beyond everything else. So he is also square this Pholus energy, and this Pholus energy, it's like things are coming out with Salacia as well. Things are coming out into the light. Things are being seen for what they actually are. The justice that needs to be done will be done. It may take time because, as they say, the wheels of justice move slowly, but it will occur. And that is also part of this whole lunar eclipse at this time. We also have, interestingly, we also still have in Virgo, we've got Orcus, that energy that I've spoken about before. It's to do with oaths and oath breaking. And if you break an oath, he would take you down into the underworld, because he is kind of an underworld god as well, a very old underworld god, possibly where Hades and Pluto kind of derive from. He goes back much further in time, Orcus, as does Qua as well. But Orcus is also sextile the moon here as well, so he's also playing a part in this lunar eclipse. So I feel as though we're going to see a lot more to do with oath-taking, breaking of oaths, that kind of thing, again to do with law as well. But in Virgo, it is about the details as well, so it's also about and service to others as well. And when you take an oath, you usually take an oath in service to others. So Orcus is about 13 degrees 40 minutes retrograde in Virgo at this time. So he's also connecting with the sun. He's trine the sun, he's trine Mercury, and he's also going to be trining Uranus as well at some point when he turns stations direct. He will move back towards Uranus, so we're also going to see that energy come into play as well. So I kind of think that, I was going to talk about Theros and Nessus. So Theros is another energy, another centaur, and he is conjunct Orcus. So Theros is conjunct the oath energy of Orcus. Now Theros is a hunter stalker energy. Mythology, he used to watch the sacred bears in their caves and things, and he would charge in when the time was right. He would watch them, and then he would grab them, drag them out of their caves, take them back to his own place, because centaurs were pretty wild and pretty kind of vicious as well. Pholos and Chiron being the only two who were kind of intellectual at all. The rest were very animalistic and very kind of wild in their nature. And Theros kind of highlights abusive, controlling tendencies, vulnerability, and kind of things being preyed upon. He's that kind of preyed upon energy. He's the stalker. He's the energy where somebody watches your social media, but they may not actually let you know that they're doing that. Theros is that kind of energy. Somebody who's not necessarily obviously there. And maybe that's got something to do with what I was saying earlier. But anyway, so Theros and Orcus are conjunct as well. Ethereus is at 12 degrees and 21 minutes of Virgo. So he's not quite, where are we? Yeah, he is. He's also, sorry, he's also sextile the moon and trine the sun and Mercury as well. So he's also a part of this kind of stalker spying as well, comes to mind. Kind of spying energy, so we may also hear more about that kind of thing as well, being spied on. This could also be to do with countries being spied on, as well as on an individual level as well. But I kind of feel that this is going to come out on a bigger, grander scale of how countries spy on each other and take information on each other. And another energy here that is not too pleasant and is opposing the Ethereus energy and the Orcus. Well, not quite, yeah, no, he is actually opposing the Orcus energy. Is another centaur called Nessus. And Nessus is to do with acts of violence, lust, abuse and manipulation and rape as well. So these are also very dark energies, very dark, very sinister, very kind of worrying energies, energies where we don't know where that is coming from. Sudden, violent energies. So these are just something to be aware of and to kind of keep an eye on as well at the time of this lunar eclipse, and also moving into the next 6 weeks as well, kind of like just be aware of these energies, because Ethereus and Nessus are not nice energies to have to deal with, and again they could come up on a collective level here as well. We could hear more about these energies. Nessus is in Pisces, Ethereus is in Virgo, so it's also on the health axis here as well. So there could also be something to do with sudden kind of violent situations or experiences, people feeling suddenly change of character, possibly as well, changes of character, people's characters changing. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. But lastly, I do also want to mention Juno, who's conjunct the Sun and Uranus at this time as well. So Juno is the goddess of marriage, relationships, and she's conjunct Sun and Uranus. So things like, there could be some relationships that end very abruptly because of information that is kind of discovered, but also there could be relationships that start just as suddenly as well. So you could also, like with this ending and beginning energy of this lunar eclipse, you could find yourself ending something very suddenly, a relationship very suddenly, maybe a relationship that's had long time, marriage that you've been in it for a long time, many years possibly, and all of a sudden it's just over, and then you may find yourself moving into a relationship that out of the blue just kind of wasn't even there at the time where you finished a relationship, but is suddenly just there in front of you, and it may be completely different to what you've left behind as well, because Juno with Uranus, conjunct Uranus, is all about the differences. It's all about, like, Uranus rules Aquarius. Aquarius is that energy of kind of like wackiness, different, unique energy. I like to say eccentric energy as well. So there could be kind of elements of eccentricity coming out in people as well in their relationships. So just, if that happens, just be aware that it is the right thing at the time to be ending something very suddenly and very abruptly. But there could also be sudden proposals as well. There could also, like, out of the blue, you may have been living with somebody for a long time and just all of a sudden decide that you're actually wanting to get married and take it to that other level of commitment as well. So just be aware that that is also a possibility around this time. And so I think I'm going to finish the reading there. I think I've covered a lot of things there. So I'm going to pull a card, quick card. Oh, before I do finish, today is also the Beltane energy as well, interestingly enough. The 5th of May, although it's on the 1st of May officially. Officially, it's actually the 5th of May. It got changed to the 1st of May because it kind of fitted in with the kind of Christian pagan switch over. But so Beltane is always halfway through between Samhain, like the October festival, Halloween festival. So if you're so inclined, tonight is a good time to light a candle, because the thing about Beltane was the fire festival. It's a festival of lighting fires, which is always a good way to release things as well, to light a fire. If you can't light a fire, light a candle. And the best time to be doing that today is about 20 minutes past 7 tonight. So I'm going to end this video and get it out there for people to be able to hear that as well. So a card please to finish the reading. Actually, I'm not going to use that deck, I'm going to use this deck instead, because this deck doesn't seem to want to. Okay, card please to finish the reading for this collective. Oops, okay. Oh, before I go, I will quickly say as well that this eclipse energy is going to be affecting all of the fixed signs the most. So anybody who's got anything between 10 degrees of Scorpio, 10 degrees to 20 degrees, sorry, of Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius and Leo, you're going to be feeling it the most. So the most intense, you're going to be the ones that are going to be having the most emotional experiences. I myself are in that bracket, and I have been incredibly emotional for this last week. Things just like for no reason whatsoever. So if you find yourself just kind of tearing up and just feeling emotional about everything, that's why you are really being affected at this time. So lastly, The card that we have come out here is Respect. So let's see what this has to say. Respect is card number 43. Okay. So during a healing process, it is vital to cultivate insightful awareness of your self-worth. That's really interesting. Self-worth being a very Taurian thing as well, or a very Venus second house Taurus. Realizing you deserve praise and love makes you more able to give praise and love. Think about how you can deepen your self-respect. Consider someone you respect greatly and reflect on why. Do you love yourself unconditionally? Do you have a self-deprecating sense of humour? It really isn't okay to have fun at your own expense. Do you take good care of yourself? This includes getting enough sleep, eating well, and exercising regularly. Are you able to make decisions for yourself based on your needs and wants? When you are in a healing process, having your own outlook and developing your perspective can carry you a long way. Stand up for whatever it is you believe in and be respectful of people that may have differing viewpoints. By gaining experience and improving yourself, you earn respect of others. You will also respect yourself more. Respect is not something you acquire quickly or easily, but it will be an ongoing support, and your self-assurance will be unshakable. A beautiful goddess stands before an array of lilies and daisies. These flowers symbolize an abundance of energy and confidence. The lilies specifically indicate a period of growth. The goddess is surrounded by the light of her aura. The yellow colour of her aura reflects her ability to claim her power. Her crown represents strength and power. These attributes can assist you while you boost your efforts to respect yourself more. So respect ourselves. Something that is definitely needed, and something that we're not on the whole brought up to do, to respect ourselves. Something that we need to learn to do on mass scale. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there and wish you all a enjoyable, happy, productive, what other words can I find for this lunar eclipse, full moon, just an experience of transformational joy that will kind of take you into a place of, even though it's not a joyful experience always at the time to go through that transformation, you need to know that it's leading you to somewhere more peaceful, more calm, more accepting of yourself and who you are, and also being able to respect yourself as well for putting yourself through that process. So when you feel as though you're in that process, allow yourself to breathe into it, breathe through it, and let the emotions flow. Just let them flow. Don't try and stop them. Don't try and direct them. Don't try and control them. Just allow yourself to feel them and to be in them, be with them, accept them. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much to those of you who have been following my videos, following my channel. If you like my videos, if you like my channel, please could you show that by thumbsing them up for me, because it does make a difference. I haven't been here for the last couple of moon cycles. I have been busy doing other things as well. So hoping to get back into doing them on a more regular basis. The energy is really intense at this time though, and I personally am going through quite a lot of big astrology experiences or situations, transits for myself as well. So yeah, please could you also share these videos as well, and comment if you want to make a comment, then that would be really good to let me know how you feel about them. Also, there will be a link in the description box down below for anybody who wants to find out more about their own astrology. If you haven't already looked at your own chart, there is a link for that in the description box down below, and all the cards that I use throughout this reading will also be in the description box down below as well for anybody who wants to find out more about the cards for themselves as well. So hopefully I will see you all again soon, and in the meantime please take really good care of yourselves and take care of anybody else around you who may need it.